If there's one thing I know how to do, it's write and run my mouth. I love to talk. Everything else in my life might not make much sense to me, but I know I'm not the one working behind it all. I know that my story is supposed to touch at least one person, and I know I'm going to make a difference, even if it means thinking radically outside of the box, pulling resources from every which way, and sticking to my original plan, which is to at least change one person's life. Even if at the very least it's only my own, because every day is not promised. I might not do things the way everyone else does, and I don't even care, because at the end of the day, who are you to judge me? I have never been more fulfilled in my life than I feel right now. I have never had more power or strength in my life than I do right now. Do you know why? Because I fear God, and He's on my side. Now it's up to me to carry out His plan. Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16, ESV translation, or English Standard Version. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill could not be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. I want to warmly welcome you back to Season 2 of Sierra Unraveled. I just wanted to remind you that we are just getting started. 1 year ago today, I launched this podcast to start a new chapter of my life. One where I will not hide anymore, I will not give up, I will not be discouraged, and I will be unapologetically me, because I was put right here in this position at this time so I can do the inevitable. There has been one thing on my mind the last couple of weeks. Well, actually there's always like a lot on my mind. Way too many things. But they have to be addressed at some point. I always feel like an inactive mind is an empty mind, one that might be lacking a lot of imagination, and we're here to create. Anyway, I've been extremely obsessed with this Gabby Petito story. Bless her vagabond heart and free-spirited soul. I relate so deeply to the kind of person she was and the mission she was carrying out, to live life to the fullest, and who cares what people think. However, at the end of the day, she was, from what I'm gathering, in an abusive relationship. It can happen to anyone, because it happened to me, and thousands of other women out here that are afraid to speak up for fear of the consequences. I'm here today, obviously, because the Lord sent me and walked me through the fire, but also because the whole reason of me launching this podcast was to stick my head out of the water and catch my breath so I could go on to speak up, educate, represent, and stand up for all the women that didn't make it. Gabrielle Petito. Say her name. I'd also like to talk about a report that I ran across about the missing white person syndrome, which at this point I'm hoping you know that I love all races, but I am and do consider myself a minority, even if I'm a hodgepodge of different ethnicities, multiracial, if you will. At the end of the day, I question if my story would have ever gotten coverage like that, and the sad but true answer is probably not. I read about a mother who lost her daughter back in 2008, and she started fact-checking her story, her daughter's story, to see if the authorities did all the things for her daughter's case as they did for Gabby's. The answer is no. And there's a million mommies that can relate to this, which just trying to wrap my head around as a mommy myself breaks my whole heart. I couldn't even imagine. Gabby Petito was brave, fearless, gentle, had a huge heart, and someone very sick took that away from her. Domestic violence is never right up in your face. There is not one person from the outside looking in that can honestly and truthfully point out that you were being abused, whether it was mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, sexually, or all of the above. It is the scariest place to be. When I've been alone with my abuser, and the things that I choose not to talk about are the same things that remind me of how complicated it was to live a life like that. I once chose to road trip with one of my abusers, and luckily he was never violent towards me, or that could have been me. Another time I had traveled with a different abuser, and he got up and left me in the middle of the night with my own car and left me stranded 3 hours away from home. Yes, I've been in an abusive relationship more than once, and the process would have continued if I didn't have my come to Jesus moment and stop accepting subpar, unacceptable, dangerous, toxic love. 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 7, NIV translation. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. You may be giving that definition of love to someone, but please ask yourself if you are receiving that kind of love in return. I know we can't change men, but we can change ourselves. We have to find God first, though. He's the only way out. And if you have found him, I promise you, if you have gotten to know him the way I have the past couple of years of my life, you would have wished that you found him sooner like me. There's no greater love, no greater peace, no greater guidance, strength, willpower than the kind you will receive from him. I didn't even really know who I was before I started chasing that relationship and building that intimacy with him. I felt so lost between the childhood abuse, neglect, a missing father, then abusive relationship after abusive relationship after abusive relationship. I didn't know where to go, but he was right there waiting for me. Women like me, and maybe like you, and maybe you're a man listening, so this could be you too. Please feel free to swap out all my pronouns because we don't leave people out over here. But abused and broken people that have been trying to navigate through life without any kind of faith end up in jail, in shelters, on the street, or dead. I should not be here. The path I was going down before I had my daughter was not good. I didn't care about myself at all, and honestly didn't care what was going to happen to me that day or the next day or just in life at all. I was just barely existing, trying to cope. That's not the move anymore, because I found my purpose. I know what I'm supposed to be doing now. I also know that there are plenty of people out there that desperately need his love the way I did. I literally got to a point in my life where instead of thinking I needed all this stuff or people or a good job or whatever, all I really needed was my Bible, or at the very least my Bible app, because I'm obsessed, and whichever will give you access to him is good enough. Philippians 4 verse 12 ESV translation. And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches in glory in Christ Jesus. I'm here to remind you that you are not alone. It is likely that someone else has been in your shoes, but it is up to you to find them and be vulnerable enough to share your story to allow that connectivity to take place. Regardless of what you decide to do today or tomorrow, you are loved by the Most High and by me and a lot of other people, I'm sure. You have an army standing behind you. Ephesians 6, verse 10 through 12, the Message translation. And that about wraps it up. God is strong and he wants you strong. So take everything the Master has set out for you, well-made weapons in the best materials, and put them to use so you will be able to stand up to everything the devil throws your way. This podcast is supposed to push you out of your comfort zone like it has done to me. It's supposed to make you take a deeper look at yourself or at your life from another perspective, preferably from Jesus's perspective, to see all that you've gone through and accomplished, and here you are still kicking it. You have to do more for your life, but first you have to want it. If you are in an abusive relationship, go to someone you can confide in, make a plan of attack, figure out your exit strategy, a safe one. The best way is to physically remove yourself from the situation entirely, or you will keep seeing yourself not make any progress. Believe it or not, they, as in your abuser, has an uncanny amount of power over you. You can't do it alone. Strength has power in numbers. And lastly, if you've never done it before, you need to pray. For them, for yourself, for both families, and for anyone else that might have been impacted by the turbulence of your relationship. There's no time to waste because the time is now. And don't forget, above all else, to educate yourself and find people that inspire you to want more. This season is going to be dedicated, but not limited to, women who have made their way out, who are determined to make a difference, or where faith has been their saving grace. I will not be using my platform this season to talk about only things going on in my life because it's just the same old, kind of. A lot has happened. But at this point, I feel like I need to find all the women who have made it to the other side, whether it be to walk it out. Who is that? DJ Unk, I think, with Jesus. Walk it out with Jesus. Or just into a position that could have potentially been stunted by traumatic situations. I will only be dropping episodes on a monthly basis this season because I have a wild and free toddler on the loose with one sassy attitude and a wonky co-parenting schedule still. However, I have to keep chasing the dream, right? I would like to close with a message that was given by my church this weekend. I feel very led to share what one of my pastors has said. There are two things for certain in life. Every person will be physically born in the flesh to his or her mother, and death will occur at some point. The second part of this is that we have absolutely no control of either. So what is our purpose between point A and point B? I'm happy you're here with me. I hope you stop letting them unravel you because only you can unravel yourself. And if you haven't stopped them yet, here's another season to remind you to do so. Stay tuned.